A group of animal rights activists breaks into the Cambridge Primate Research Center, inspects the imprisoned chimpanzees, and takes records detailing their status. Moments later, the center's researcher sees the group and, panicked, advises them not to come into contact with the chimpanzees, as they are infected with a contagious rage virus that has made them extremely violent, and warns that any contact with their blood or saliva is dangerous. However, the group disregards this warning and proceeds to free the caged animals, but soon are terrified when one of them is brutally attacked by the primates. Within seconds, the victim totally succumbs to the virus, and utter chaos erupts as she proceeds to attack the rest of the group, through whom the virus spreads across England, causing destruction. 28 days later, a bicycle courier named Jim, who had been in a traffic accident before the outbreak, wakes up in a hospital in London and is confused to find it completely deserted. After putting on some clothes and quenching his thirst, Jim leaves the hospital in hopes of figuring out what's going on. Unfortunately, Jim's wait for an answer goes longer as he finds the streets of London completely abandoned and trashed. He continues his walk, calling out for someone, but fails to find a soul.
Hello!
Jim notices the destruction in the empty city and, hoping to find answers, decides to keep searching for clues or other people. He then finds some cash thrown among some trash and collects, hoping it will help him somehow. Jim traverses all the famous hotspots and landmarks of the usually bustling city and still finds absolutely nothing. As Jim continues on, he's extremely disturbed by the manner in which some vehicles and items are left on the street, as if the owners didn't get a chance to put them away properly, and gets more concerned. Finally, Jim finds a newspaper and learns of the disaster that has wiped out society. Then he comes upon a bulletin board full of desperate messages from families wishing to speak to their loved ones and leaving farewell messages, and the gravity of the situation sinks in. Then Jim is relieved to find a church and goes inside in hopes of finding someone, but is shocked to see infected people passed out everywhere. Then, as Jim quietly continues exploring the hallways of the church, an infected priest sees him and rushes to attack him. Panicked, Jim punches the sick man and runs out of the church. The moment Jim starts running, the infected people wake up and start chasing him into the streets and around the city, until survivors named Mark and Selena come to his rescue and help him by throwing flames at the chasers, which gives Jim a chance to get away. Then, as the number of the infected chasing them grows, Mark sets a nearby gas station on fire and wipes them all out. Then the duo leads Jim to their temporary hideout in a local shop. There, Selena updates Jim about the infection in detail and the following exodus that has left the city barren. Selena and Mark give some advice to Jim on how to handle himself and agree to take him to his parents' house the next morning. There, Jim is heartbroken to find both his parents dead in their beds. That night, as the group spends the night at the house, Jim lights a candle and mourns his beloved parents. Unfortunately, the candlelight attracts a couple of infected people who jump through the window and attempt to attack Jim.
Fight! Fight!
Mark and Selena come to Jim's rescue and beat the invaders to death. Unfortunately, Mark is bitten in the altercation, and Selena is forced to brutally kill him. Jim is shocked, speechless by the whole ordeal, but doesn't have much time to process everything as Selena rushes him out of the house. The duo rushes back to the city, and as they cautiously walk the streets, they notice a flickering light on a building near them. Figuring that it's a sign from a survivor, the duo decides to head to the apartment. As Jim and Selena cautiously go up the stairs, they are suddenly followed by a group of infected people, and they start running for their lives.
Selena! Wait for me, please!
After a few minutes, the duo encounters a man named Frank, who directs them to his apartment and helps fight off the infected.
Down the corridor, flat 157.
Move!
Thank you. Thank you.
Once they are all safe and sound in the apartment, Frank introduces his daughter Hannah to the duo, shares his excitement to meet other survivors, and welcomes them to stay. The next morning, Frank shares a recorded message from soldiers announcing a protection blockade outside Manchester and suggests they should all go there. Selina resists this idea profusely, suggesting the soldiers might no longer be there as the recording is old, and they might just end up endangering themselves on their way. Her idea falls on deaf ears, however, and the group packs and starts driving to the blockade in Frank's car, leaving behind the carnage of the city. Then the group drives through a tunnel, gets a flat tire, and as they attempt to repair it, they are swarmed by rats who aggressively appear out of nowhere. Soon the group figures out that the rats are running away from infected people who are coming in their direction, and they panic. Luckily, as the infected's near them, the group manages to finish the repair and escape in time. Then as the group drives away from the danger, they see a fully stocked supermarket and shop for food and everything else they could ever want. After driving a few miles, the group finds a fuel truck and decides to refill their tank. Hence, while the rest refill the fuel, Jim walks around the area, finds an infected boy, and brutally beats him to death. Then the group continues on their way and makes it to a beautiful countryside where they take a moment to eat and enjoy their environment. They then decide to spend the night there and huddle up on the grass next to each other. The next morning, they wake up early and continue on their way to the blockade. A few hours later, the group reaches Manchester and is shocked to find the whole city burning. The group drives through the burned city, finally reaches the advertised military blockade, but is confused to see that it's been completely deserted. As per Frank's order, the group looks around the blockade, trying to find a clue as to where all the soldiers are, but comes up empty-handed. A frustrated Frank then goes off on his own to clear his mind and think of his next move, but is unfortunately infected through blood from an infected corpse. Within seconds of being infected, Frank becomes violent and tries to attack Hannah while telling her how much he loves her. Selina quickly figures out what's going on and tells Jim to kill Frank while shielding the distraught Hannah. Jim tries to muster the courage to do as ordered, but before he could, a group of soldiers camouflaged in the surrounding woods shoots and kills Frank, while warning the rest to stay away from him. Then the soldiers take Jim, Hannah, and Selina to their heavily fortified mansion-like camp under the command of Major Henry West. While the girls take some rest, the Major gives Jim the tour of the camp, introduces him to the soldiers, and to an imprisoned infected soldier named Private Mailer, kept for observation and research into the virus.
The idea was to learn something about infection.
That night, Jim, Selina, and Hannah join the soldiers for dinner in the dining room. The soldiers relax and banter with each other as they eat their meals, but are soon interrupted by sudden, strange sounds. In the blink of an eye, all the soldiers file out with their weapons in hand and run to their respective areas around the compound to respond to the threat from the infected people. Soon the soldiers neutralize the threat and return feeling confident. Inside the camp, one of the soldiers, named Corporal Mitchell, comes on to Selina, and a fight breaks out between him and Jim. However, the Major soon arrives, breaks it up, and sends the soldiers on different follow-up tasks. Then the Major pulls Jim aside, confides that he has promised to give his men women to have fun with, to raise their morale, and inspire them to look to the future, and asks him to join his mission by getting Hannah and Selina on board. Disgusted, Jim rushes to the girls, urges them to follow him, and the trio runs out of the camp. However, the soldiers catch up to them and knock Jim out. Then a sergeant named Farrell surprisingly supports Jim's efforts to get the women out and gets into a standoff with his fellow soldiers. However, soon the Major arrives and orders the soldiers to arrest both the sergeant and Jim. Later, while they're chained in the basement, Sergeant Farrell tells Jim that Great Britain had been quarantined, and so the infection has not spread across the Atlantic to the rest of the world. Then a couple of soldiers take the prisoners to the woods, but get into a fight after killing the sergeant.
Sorry, what, you want to see me, do ya? You want to f***ing see me? I'll f***ing kill you.
Once they notice Jim's absence, the soldiers freak out and scour the woods to find him. Meanwhile, Jim uses his wit to outsmart the soldiers, makes them believe he's dead, and continues to run. However, after running some distance with still tied hands, Jim is exhausted and falls down. As he lays on the ground contemplating his life, Jim sees a jet contrail in the sky, thinks back to what the sergeant told him about life beyond the Atlantic, gets re-energized, and gets back up with a fighting spirit. Meanwhile, at the camp, the major orders his men to dress the women, and chaos ensues as the women resist.
Relax yourself.
Then Selena convinces the soldiers to give them privacy while they get dressed, and once they do, she tries her best to calm down the hysterical Hannah. Minutes later, Jim blares the compound siren, causing terror around the ground. The major and a couple of his men go to check out the source of the siren, while Jim discreetly waits for them. Then, Jim waits perfectly still until the right moment, attacks, and kills a soldier. Moments later, the major finds the body of his soldier and starts shooting up the surroundings out of sheer panic. Then the major fights against a group of infected people who come for him, while Jim shoots out Private Mailer's chains from afar and frees him.
What was that?
Private Mailer then attacks the soldiers.
We're gonna get out of here. Stay with
The private causes utter chaos inside the camp as he goes around killing and infecting the soldiers one by one. Jim uses this commotion to sneak back into the camp and kill a soldier who has managed to escape the private. Meanwhile, an infected soldier chases Hannah, but she manages to hide and evade notice. Elsewhere, Jim finds Selena kidnapped by Corporal Mitchell, and after a brutal fight, rescues her. Then Jim and Selena are reunited with Hannah, hoping to get away from the camp, all rush to their car. However, when they proceed to enter the car, they are shocked to find the major in the back seat. Before they can react to this discovery, the major blames Jim for the death of all of his men and shoots him in the stomach. Hannah swiftly gets in the car, drives it directly at Private Mailer, who breaks the windows, aggressively pulls out the major, and attacks him. The trio then drives out of the camp and speeds away. 28 days later, Jim is recuperating well from his wound in a small cottage the trio has settled in. Later, Selena finishes sewing a large sign, and after being informed of the jet flying overhead by Hannah, the trio rushes out with the sign that spells hello, waves at the jet, and wonders if anyone saw them. And with that, the story ends. Please like and subscribe to our channel for more of the best film recaps.